Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Root of the Matter. I am your host, Dr. Rachaele Carver. And today, to continue our detox series, we're going to get into the nitty gritty of how to detox our life. We've talked a little bit about infections and other things in our body, but what about the environment? I think this is a big piece that people miss. We try to clean up our body, but if we're not cleaning up the environment, we're treading water here. So I'm happy to introduce everyone to Cathy Cooke, who is a holistic nutritionist and a building biologist. And she's going to give us some tips and tricks, talk to us a little bit more in detail about all those different environmental burdens that we can, when we create awareness, we can do a little bit better and try to clean up our environment as best we can. We all know we're never going to clean everything up 100%, but having a little bit of awareness and making better choices can really help us, and especially our children. I think the younger generation today, they're being born full of toxins, and there are more toxins than ever getting into their body at an earlier age. And seeing this as skyrocketing cancers in 20 and 30-year-olds, which has before now been unheard of. So welcome, Cathy. Thank you for taking part of your Friday to share all your expertise with us. Maybe talk to us a little bit how you got into holistic nutrition, and maybe some people don't know what a building biologist is.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Carver, for having me on. I'm really excited to talk to your audience about this and glad that you're taking this approach of the environmental piece because, like you said, it's often missed. You talk about the diet and food, but air quality and EMF, very important. Yeah, so I have a similar story as a lot of us alternative practitioners in that I was sick for decades and couldn't figure it out. And long story short, I was working in the nonprofit sector for 20 something years. And then my health was getting worse and worse. So I said, I got to just dive into this full time. So I started to study holistic nutrition. And even then, when my diet was awesome, right? I was detoxing, I was doing the cleanses, and I was getting worse and worse. And so it was around 2000, maybe 15, that I started to understand the environmental piece. And for me, it was EMF related mostly. My cell phone and my Wi-Fi were giving me a lot of very strong symptoms: tinnitus, anxiety, insomnia. And when I mitigated those, I started to get better within days. And then I said, all right, if this is happening for me, it's probably happening for a lot of people. So I decided to study at the Building Biology Institute, which teaches us all things air quality, EMF, all toxins. It's all about toxins that we bring into our homes and how we can build better and reduce those toxins that are in our home already. Yeah, so I've been doing that since 2018.
Fantastic. So you mentioned the biggest ones for you were the EMFs. And this is a hard thing for a lot of people, I think, to wrap their head around because you don't feel it, you don't see it. And this is modern life today. Like, we are glued to our cell phones. Everything. I remember years and years ago, be like, soon we'll be able to pay for everything with our cell phones. And sure enough, it didn't take long for us to be able to, our whole lives could be in that tiny little machine. So maybe let's start there. Why are EMFs so bad for us?
Yeah, you can't see it. And I was a skeptic for a while because I was like, what? You want me to believe in these waves that are through the air? And I didn't get it. But I became so desperate after weeks of not sleeping that I was like, okay, whatever, I'll do whatever it takes. So I just did a trial and turned off my phone and put it in a drawer and unplugged my Wi-Fi. And like I said, within 2 days, it was like, whoa, my tinnitus is gone. My anxiety is lifted. I slept last night. So it is very difficult because people think that our life depends on it, that we can't communicate, that how am I supposed to get in touch? I can't make a phone call. I can't do anything without it. But I'm talking to you right now through my computer that is hardwired, and I have no radio frequency emitting from it. You know, this is a wired headset, right? I don't have to put earbuds wireless earbuds in my ears. So I'm not getting any radio frequency from what I'm doing right now. I do have a phone and I use it to get directions to go to my inspections. Pretty much that's it. I check it once or twice a day for messages, and then I make my phone calls through my hardwired computer. So I realize that sounds really cumbersome for a lot of people, but I just want to show that there are alternatives. And if you have to make a phone call on your cell phone once in a while, fine. But if you're going to talk to your grandma for 2 hours once a week, do it through your computer. And there's ways to dramatically reduce your exposure while staying connected to the world. And hardwiring your internet is one of the easiest, best things to dramatically reduce that, and avoid wearables. There's so many things we can do where our life stays pretty much the same. We just need to commit to putting in a little effort into it. But I think it's incredibly important if we want to maintain our health, especially with the younger generation, as we've got more anxiety and mental health issues than ever before. I have no doubts that their phones and the radio frequency and the EMF we're getting from our devices are part of that picture. So I would just encourage people to actually take some of those steps to mitigate. We're not going to live in a cave. We're just going to reduce it where we can.
It reminds me of last year. I was in my children's public high school in the auditorium and seeing all of the routers and everything. I'm like, they had 2. I was like, why do they need 2? There's a massive cell tower right behind the school. And you wonder why the kids are so anxious, the behavior is so issue. Not only their phone, they've got the thousands of other kids, the whole building. It's tragic.
Yeah.
And my kids hate it, but I was like, listen, at night, your phones come out into this central location. They get turned off. They are not in your rooms. You cannot have wireless earbuds. And of course, they're teenagers. They're going to fight me and whatever.
Yeah.
Everything in our house is wired. It like
Awesome.
you said, okay, you got to take a little bit of time, but it's not that expensive. And it's so valuable. And there's a lot of things out there we can try to do to mitigate that. But I was talking in the previous episode, we were talking about frequencies and emotion frequencies. That's the same thing. So what is an EMF? There are natural EMFs, right? That are good. Light is a frequency, but these man-made EMFs that come off of our devices have such high frequencies. Our body does not know what to do with these frequencies. And I relate it to, it's as if you were in a teeny tiny little room and somebody was blaring heavy metal rock at you all day long. That's what it feels like. That's what our cells feel like when we're getting bombarded with these man-made frequencies. And any public place you go, airports, all these things, like you're getting an extra dose. So when you're doing these kind of things, again, like you said, we're not trying to prevent you from being out in society, but what are other things what can we do to build our resilience? Because I travel for work, I go to a lot of conferences and I do speaking and stuff. And I go to my kids' school to do whatever they need to. My kids are in school 8 hours a day. So for the EMF piece, we talked about the wire and all that. Is there anything else that you recommend to help us create a little resilience for those frequencies?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we have to still live in the world. And while there are movements in the country to actually wire schools, that is happening. Most of us aren't there, and it's going to be a long time before we get there. So what can we do to protect our bodies? There is supplementation that I think can be very valuable for a lot of people. One of the ways that EMF affects us on a cellular level is by artificially opening the voltage-gated calcium channels, and then you get a flood of calcium ions into the cell, which leads to oxidative stress. Well, magnesium is a great calcium channel blocker. So for those of us that are in a high exposure, supplementing with magnesium can be helpful. I also like to recommend things like rosemary tincture because it's highly radioprotective. Antioxidants, of course, are going to be helpful. Your vitamin C, glutathione, melatonin, which is controversial, whether you want to take that routinely. But there's actually formulas too that will combine resveratrol or green tea, alpha lipoic acid, some of these really rich antioxidants that can be really helpful as well. There's one product called Ion Shield from Clinical Synergy, which is it Clinical Synergy? The same company that makes Pectisol, which I love. So the Ion Shield is great. I always take that when I have to fly or I'm going to be in a high radio frequency environment. So that can all be very helpful. And then, all of the other things that I know that you talk about on your show to keep the body resilient, managing stress, movement, sunlight, grounding, all of these things that just builds the body up so that we can handle more exposure in the long term.
That was great. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to look at that Ion Shield. That sounds great. And rosemary, I didn't know that about rosemary. So
yeah. Rosmarinic acid. There's some good data on the radioprotective abilities of rosmarinic acid. Pretty fascinating.
That's great. And I think we underappreciate how much herbs and spices really do for our body.
Totally.
That's really where most of our antioxidants come from, right? Is these the herbs and spices.
Yep.
Do not be shy. We all can love salt and pepper, but please don't be shy with all the, especially because so many of us, if we're running around, maybe not eating the most balanced meals, if you have some of these herbs in your pantry, sprinkle a little bit on. Grass-fed steaks.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that's great. So we know, okay, EMFs are a problem, and like you said, they're, we recognize this. The science is there, right? The FTC, they lost that big lawsuit. Again, it takes so much time to move bureaucracy. Yeah. So that's what we can do as citizens, trying to protect our kids and ourselves, which is great. What's another really big environmental toxin you think that impacts us?
Gosh, there's so many, but often mold, of course, is huge. But I really want people to think about what they're bringing into their house. I have a colleague who says the front door is your biggest filter in your home because you are bringing in the furniture, the carpet, the nonstick cookware, the cleaning supplies, the body care, all things that the majority of what's on the market contain parabens, phthalates, PFAS, all of these chemicals, which are endocrine disruptors and other things that most of us can easily change. So I really want people, sometimes the EMF might be overwhelming, or going down the mold rabbit hole is super overwhelming. But for those of us that are like, I just want to make some changes, cool, get rid of your nonstick cookware. Please get rid of your nonstick cookware. Use carbon steel, use stainless steel, use glass. There's options. You can even I have found glass cookware at the thrift stores, cast iron, like you can do it pretty inexpensively. You can get a cast iron pan at Walmart for $10 or $15. Like these are inexpensive, easy ways to make immediate changes. I really would love for people to look at their body care and see if it's got phthalates or parabens or fragrances. I am in a war against fragrances and with Americans. It is not going well because people do not want to get rid of their fragrances. Anytime I post,
the worst. I'm like, oh my
100%.
God. My kids' herbs, and I was like, wait, 100%. I keep throwing them away and they keep reappearing.
Yes.
I'm like, where are you getting these things?
Yes. I post a reel on Instagram about fragrances, and you would think that I said I'm Satan. Like the hate that I get is mind-boggling. People don't want to do it. But a clean home has no smell. And fragrances, cognitive issues, asthma, endocrine disruption, it's real. And we can easily change this. You can get shampoo with essential oils if you really love that smell. that would be way better. And it's easy to find. The moisturizers, one of my favorite face care lines is Anna Maria Skincare, which is Anne Marie Skincare, which is fabulous. And it's all essential oils and it smells amazing, heavenly. So there are better options. So I want people to really think about, what are they buying? What are they bringing in? Cleaning chemicals, a whole other thing. Cleaning chemicals is even more of an issue because it's got all of these chemicals and you're spraying it on the counters and then you're touching the counters and you're consuming it. So not only are you inhaling it, but peripherally you may be ingesting it. And babies walking on the floors, or your pets, and the pets are licking their paws. Like, it is a very serious thing that does not get attention, like you said, and we can change these things easily. So I would love for people to pay attention to that.
I think that's important. And I think, again, start in the kitchen. I like the idea of, let's start in the kitchen. This is where, like you said, the counters, the cookware we're using, we know nutrition is so important. We want to try to minimize what we're putting in the body. Not only getting rid of the nonstick. Okay, these have these PFAS, which are forever chemicals. There's so much information about there and how dramatic they are. I don't know all the statistics, but you have one little scratch in your nonstick pan and you're giving off thousands and thousands of these chemicals. That's getting, and these are the things, when they're called forever chemicals, that's because your body cannot, even if you had the most robust detox and elimination system, these things, it's very hard. I remember I did a test one time and it showed DDT in my system. That was banned 3 years before I was even born. And yet my body had overwhelming amounts of DDT in my system 40 years later. So it's run. And again, for children especially, their immune systems aren't fully developed until age 3. So any synthetic interventions in that first 3 years, you got to be, and like I said, a lot of babies are already born with their immune systems shot because of what us as moms, we've been living in this toxic world. So very important, if you're making your own baby food or if you're buying baby food, please don't buy baby food in plastic, right? Plastics are terrible. They're another, like these forever chemicals. They are so convenient, obviously, but that's the second thing I would say is remove the nonstick. And there's a great company called Our Place. I replaced all my nonstick with this ceramic Our Place that has been tested all up and down. And it's fantastic. I had another one that was terrible. It was not nonstick, but this has been really good. But no food in plastic ever. If we get takeout, sometimes I love Indian, I immediately take it out of that plastic and put it in glass. If there's anything left over, it's convenient to just put the top back on and put it on the fridge. But no, if there's anything acidic or fatty, that's going to even more leach out the plastic even more. Do not buy ketchup in plastic, mayonnaise in plastic. So think of that. Acidic and fatty things will leach the plastic even faster. So replace all of it. Just no more plastic.
100%.
You can buy so many like reusable stuff for kids, snacks and stuff, reusable silicone stuff. There's so many, like you said, so many
metal. So many easy options that exist.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are my two biggest things in the kitchen, right? Is no more plastic and no more like the nonstick. We don't even have a microwave anymore. It broke one day. It was really interesting because it broke. And the one in my office broke within a week of each other. And I was like, universe is telling me. Create all these toxic byproducts. And so my kids find it annoying, but they're used to it now. Okay, we have a toaster, we have an oven. Okay, so maybe it takes a few extra minutes to cook something,
and no food tastes good from the microwave. No. We all know that.
And for the cleaning, like you said, things like baking soda, borax, vinegar, you can find a million recipes online to help you clean. Less expensive, less waste. If you buy a glass container and you make your own. And again, people are like, I'm too busy for that. I get it. I'm a super busy person. But one day I just said, what is my goal here? If I really want to be healthy, I need to live this way. And I bought glass containers and I'll just make my own.
Yeah.
There's some companies that'll give you little concentrates and you can do it that way. But you also want to think about the environmental impact with all these things we're throwing, all the plastic we're throwing
plastic
away.
bottles, it's great.
It's terrible. So
Yeah.
reusable, all over. And the beauty products. So I think what you said that is my biggest pet peeve too, is the fragrances. And now you say it's easy to find. I find it actually very
Difficult.
challenging to find products without, because now, and they'll hide it, right? Because they'll say, you might see parfum.
Yes, they do that.
Fragrance, right?
Yes.
Parfum. Anytime you see fragrance, and this kind of bothers me, because sometimes the label will say no phthalates, but they list fragrance. And I'm like, fragrance?
Not quite.
I'm not sure that's true.
Yeah.
If it says fragrance, and then they won't tell you what the fragrance is because it's proprietary. They get around these legal things.
Yeah, true.
It's proprietary. So again, I find it challenging. One of the shampoos I like is Shea Moisture. Some of them might have some, but in certain ones, I like that, and looking for the fragrance free. But for having teenage girls, I have 2 teenage girls. They want they'll watch all the social media and they get all. I go into Target, I'm like, oh my God. Like, even the natural brands.
Yeah. You're right.
Fragrances, and they still, it can be. Yes. I just finished reading a book about Coco Chanel, her Chanel No. 5, the preeminent. And I was like, I wonder, because I told my kids, I said, I will, if you want to have some kind of perfume, like, I'll buy you a real one. I will spend the money to buy you a real one, because I'm concerned about you guys developing and you get all this stuff. So, but even, and I was like, I wonder if it's the original formulation, because it was manufactured in 1921. And they said the reason why it lingers is because she had aldehydes added to it. So it doesn't have phthalates, but it does have these aldehydes, which might not be perfect. But then again, online, I looked up toxin-free perfumes, and I found one that had a little sample. So I ordered it, because I was like, well, if I can find one that my kids will like, then maybe I can stop finding Bed Bath and Beyond stuff.
It's the worst.
So phthalates, we know, are related to fragrances. What are parabens, and why do we have to be worried about that?
Parabens are put into a lot of products for the consistency and preservatives to keep the product shelf stable and all mixed together and the consistency of the product. But they can be endocrine disruptors as well. And when we're talking about endocrine disruption, we're thinking that's our hormones, right? For those that don't use fancy words. So our thyroid, who doesn't have thyroid issues and adrenal issues, our sex hormones. There's a big epidemic of infertility in this country. And I actually teach some health classes at my local hospital once in a while. And one of them is a puberty class. And early puberty, early breast development, it's almost normal. It's normal now. It's common. It's not normal, but it's very common because we're exposed to all of these endocrine disrupting products. So it's very problematic. Especially once we become the age where we want to start reproducing and have a family, and we have to go through IVF and years trying to get pregnant, like, that's stressful. It's expensive. It's heartbreaking. And if your body's saying, I can't get pregnant, it's probably saying, I'm not healthy enough to carry a child and produce a healthy person. So, of course, anyone who wants to have a child, like, I fully support that. But it's stressful because we're trying so hard to force this to happen. And are we going to have healthy kids? Like, it's very difficult. So just another simple chemical that they're putting in the products that can, unfortunately, over time and chronic exposure can lead to big issues.
Yeah. And those are the things that are prominent in the plastics too, which is why I'm like, really against those as well. And I think you make a really important point. Both of my sisters had fertility treatment, and they're in their 40s. I think it's getting, but now you see and I was like, all their friends. It was like, yeah, it's just the common thing now. And it's my own daughter, who I know all of this, and I've been very good about stuff in my house. My younger got her period at 11. I was like, oh my God. And I was so not prepared. My other daughter was 12 and a half, which is, I think, a decent age. And again, frightening to me because I knew this and I minimized all of this, but yet still we live in this environment. We used to travel and vacation a lot. So she was still getting exposed to a lot, but again, very common. And yes, we have IV and we have all these great things, but it is a signal to our bodies. It's something. And this is my daughter said to me, "Oh, Mom, you're so old. I want to be a young mom." I was 30 when I wouldn't consider myself old, but yes. And I said, that, all that bad oils on those French fries you're eating, right? It takes 7 years for that. If you never ate another French fry, it would take 7 years for that to get out of your system. So I'm like, so you got to think about that. If you want a kid at 25, you got to start.
Right. If she wants to be a young mom,
you got to clean up your act now. I was like, you may feel fine now, but I'm telling you guys, you got to clean up the act here. Because these are the formative years, right? When the hormones are all developing, and this is when they're into all the junk food and all the products. And oh my gosh, I never knew any about that stuff. We didn't have social media when I was a teenager, and now with the makeup and the this and the that. And I'm like, guys, I get it. I'd rather you never touch that stuff, but if you're going to, let's look for the alternatives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And like anything, the more people, the reason I do this podcast is I want to create awareness. And I think the only way we make real change is with our dollars, right? So you can go and you can fight bureaucracy all you want. You're not going to get very far because it's really, at the end of the day, it's all about the dollars. So if we start buying more of these natural, look at all these natural food brands that are getting bought up left and right by the big food companies.
Do
every day, right? Because people are gluten-free industry is $1 billion industry now. It barely existed 10 years ago. People start demanding. So if we start demanding less toxic products, we start using our votes and buying these more natural things, then everything has to shift, right? But so many people, again, aren't really aware of how all these things impact us. And again, it's not the one thing, right? My kids, if they eat, it's fine. But they eat the French fries, then they have the perfume, then they have the makeup, then they're on and on. The bucket, that's how I explain it, right? Your bucket is getting full so fast. And it's so much harder to treat something than it is to prevent something.
Yeah, 100%. Yes. Prevention. It's all about the prevention.
It is. And again, it's challenging. But again, the more we're all aware of this and we start making better choices about the foods we eat, the products we buy, the things, then we're going to start to make a real.
That's exactly it. And that's what I really like to stress with people too, because like you said, people are super overwhelmed. Like, I got to get rid of my whole house. No, the next time you go to buy shampoo, get a fragrance-free option. The next time you go to, if you need a new pan, whatever, get the carbon steel or whatever it is. So one thing at a time. And then a year from now, you're going to go, whoa, I made a ton of changes. So, and then there's the people that are like, nope, doing it all today. Awesome, do it. But we don't, it's one step at a time. I don't want anybody to get paralyzed with overwhelm. So we just do one thing at a time and it adds up fast.
Yeah. What about maybe furniture? Let's say somebody's redecorating a room. What do they want to think about? Do they need to be considered what type of furniture they buy? What kind of flooring they buy? What about paint? There's all those different things.
Furniture's tough. That's the toughest one, honestly, because you can get a couch that has latex cushions and cotton or linen covers, but it's going to cost you $6,000. If you can do it, fabulous. Most of us aren't in that position. I actually have a futon for a couch, which is a really decent option. It's cotton. It's all cotton futon, and the frame is wood. I totally understand that that's not going to meet the aesthetic for the majority of people, but you can find some that look very nice and fit with a minimalistic look, and you can put nice covers on them for someone that can do that. Awesome. So honestly, the couches and the chairs, that's the biggest challenge. So we do our best there. And then,
that is like letting it, let's say you get it, let it sit outside or in your garage for a few days, really try to off gas if that's
off gas it. Yep. Yes. Let it off gas for a few days. For sure. And then you can also put a little baking soda on it and vacuum it, or put little carbon pouches. It's not going to be a huge difference, but it'll help a little bit. But mattresses, for some reason in the last 5-10 years, the green mattress industry has exploded, which I find very interesting. So you can find healthier mattress options all over the place. Why that hasn't extended fully into the couches, I don't really know, but there's a lot of really good options for mattresses. Again, you could do, if you're on a budget, you can do something like a cotton futon or wool. I have a latex mattress, 100% latex with a wool topper. There's Naturepedic, which is a very popular mattress brand. There's Avocado. There's a lot of options for mattresses out there that people can do. And then otherwise, if we focus on solid wood, tables, desks, kitchen table, chairs, great options. And then carpet. Carpet is the other thing that I would love it if people got rid of. I just actually moved into a new location and there's carpet here. I couldn't manage that, but what I'm doing is buying very big area rugs that are cotton to put over it so that I'm minimizing what's in the air and my skin contact, which can be helpful. And I have air purifiers. So if you've got carpet and you can get rid of it, that would be one of the best ways to improve your overall air quality. And then what you want to replace that with, hardwood, always a great option, always probably the best option. If you can't do hardwood, you can think about something like cork, which would be better than carpet. Cork is going to have some adhesives in it, but it's better than carpet. Marmoleum is a great flooring choice for bathrooms or kitchens. So marmoleum looks like linoleum or like an old vinyl, but it's made with flax and natural materials. So it's not toxic. And there's some really cool, really high-end designs, so it can look really nice. And then we've got like the engineered hardwood or the vinyl planks. They're better than carpet, not ideal, but I would definitely recommend them over carpet. The vinyl planks are going to delaminate and flake off over time. Not great for the environment, but from a chemical exposure point of view, way better than carpet. So depends on your budget and what you can do, but those would be my options.
So you mentioned air quality, which is a big thing. And we spend so much of our life indoors these days that and air quality is something we don't think about. But maybe talk to us a little bit about what you think. Should we all have air purifiers? Is there a way to test for air quality? And again, why it's important.
Yeah, air quality is huge because we eat 1 to 3 times a day. We drink, 60 ounces of water a day, but we breathe nonstop. So it's awesome that we're paying attention to our food and what we're drinking, but what we're breathing is a much bigger volume of toxins. So air quality is huge because we're breathing it in and it's going directly into our circulation. I think most people would benefit from having air purifiers in their home if we live in a city. If we live out in the woods and our house is built of wood and natural materials, maybe we can get by without it. But these days, most of us need it because our air is unfortunately not great. And we have all of these things in our house that we've been talking about. So there's a lot of air purifiers out on the market, and they may use some fancy marketing terms. We've got ions and photocatalytic jargon, blah, blah, blah. You don't need any of that. You need a HEPA filter and you need carbon. That's it. The more simple, the better. HEPA is going to capture particulate down to 0.3 microns or smaller, which would include your mold spores, some viruses, bacteria, dander, in some of the larger particulate. Dust, what's in our dust? Heavy metals, all of these chemicals we're talking about, mold spores, bacteria. So we really need to do a better job of keeping our dust load down. That was a segue, but back to the filter. Carbon. You want a large amount of carbon because that's going to capture the VOCs, or the volatile organic compounds. So those are the only two things that I recommend. And then that's going to help to filter the air, especially for people that are in wildfire areas or dense populations where we need more of that. Another thing that brings me a lot of hateful comments, but I'll mention it anyway, is our candles and our scents that we just...
Febreze and such.
Yeah, the Febreze and the Glade plugins and all of these things that we're trying to do, the Reed diffusers, but even the candles, even your audience probably knows, well, I don't use scented candles, but I use one that's made of soy and essential oils. But the problem is we're not supposed to heat essential oils. That's not great. If you are using essential oils on a high ozone day, like orange or citrus, you can create formaldehyde. And when you're burning a candle, you've got particulate. You're burning particulate, which you are then inhaling, which is not awesome. If you want to do a candle once in a while, fine. But don't do them every day. Incense, pretty toxic stuff. So we need to be really careful about even the natural options that we're choosing. I prefer to limit those because of that particulate that we're breathing. So yes, for all of these reasons, air purification, I'm a big fan of that.
I agree. I have them in definitely my kids' rooms with all their fragrances everywhere.
Yes.
Try to keep them. We live in the woods, but I still again, because of everything that they're exposed to.
Right.
And then we try to keep their windows open as much of the year as we can. We're in the Northeast, so it gets a little cold in the winter. But and even though we built a new house, we have the fresh air circulator, but I don't think it cuts it enough. We actually bought all these monitors and we're like, ugh, still the quality can be problematic. I'm also a huge proponent of clean air because, I really like how you said that. Nonstop, we're breathing stuff in. Yeah. How many? I can't tell you how many people I see in my practice with enormous tonsils. More than half of my patients.
Really?
Yes. And our tonsils is immune tissue, right? That if we're not breathing through our nose for whatever reason, if it's clogged or we have allergies, right? Tonsils have to collect and filter. And even if you are breathing through your nose, that tonsil still is as a filter. And I had a family, it was interesting, they all happened to be in on the same day, and all four of them had these huge tonsils. And I was like, what's going on with the air in your house? They were using a wood-burning fireplace.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So great, guys.
Yeah.
You can use it, but get some fresh air going too, maybe some air purifiers. But again, that's a sign of toxin accumulation. When your immune tissue is that swollen, working overtime, that's a problem. And again, we dismiss it. And again, we live so much of our life indoors around all these scents and the carpet. Yeah, carpet's one of the worst. Even for my kids, we have wood flooring, but I'm like, no more even rugs. I'm like, you can have a wool rug, or cotton, but I'm like, too much is like synthetic. So I think that's a really big one. It should be high on the list of making sure that the air is pure as possible. I also like what you said about keeping the dust down. That's why I love my Roomba. I'm too busy to vacuum. When I go to work, hit the on button.
It's done.
I don't know. Get it done for me. Big proponent of those kind of things to help us when we're not around to do it, because that's where a lot of the mold, like you said, mold is such a problem. Like we want to talk about a rabbit hole, but it is a major immune suppression and really a lot behind chronic strep throat infection, behind when people have worsening Lyme disease. It's often because you have mold. So that's problematic. So anything we can do, again, keeping the fresh air, keeping the air is filtered, trying to minimize it. Because a lot of times mold, as a building biologist, you can probably say a lot of mold's invisible. It's obvious when you see the black mold in certain areas, but when it's behind the walls, you don't know it. But you're still breathing.
Which it usually is, and very difficult to find. Mm-hmm. Even most of my work these days is mold inspections, because there's not a lot of us willing to go into a crawl space with snakes and spiders and rodents, and it's a dirty job, but it hides very well. And you don't see it. And so it's a real problem. And it's going to continue potentially to cause you a lot of symptoms until you find it and remove it. And there's no magic spray. There's no magic fog, no magic spray, no magic air purifier that's going to resolve that. It has to be physically removed.
Yeah. And that's the thing I think a lot of us don't realize. My husband used to fight me for years, because always in testing and things, mycotoxins always come up for everybody in my family. And my husband would be like, well, mold's everywhere. I'm like, I understand, but mold also becomes toxic. Yes, it's everywhere, and it's part of our natural environment. But now, because of all the other chemicals in our house, it's everywhere. But when it gets angry and threatened or whatever, it creates more of the toxin. So all these bacteria and fungus and this is all part of nature. But it's when they get exposed to some toxic thing that they become more toxic, that their byproducts become more problematic for us. So parasites, all these things have been around since the beginning of time. But now they're much more problematic because of all these other toxins in the environment. It's cumulative. And so that's what we really need to think about. For years, like my husband painted our whole garage with mold-free paint, whatever it was, which was great. But then the ceiling in the garage, you could see with all the seams of I was like, okay. And that's where our cars are. And we're in the cars every day. And I was like, can you please got to fix this? And so we scrubbed the borax and all this stuff, but I'm like, and painted over it. But I'm like, I don't know if that's really going to solve it.
I mean, it's not, physical removal is the only real solution. And it's a beast. The whole topic of mold is a beast, and it is everywhere. And I get that comments from other inspectors or remediation companies because they call me extreme and over the top. And I'm like, I'm just following industry standards.
Yeah.
But it is everywhere, but not in those quantities we find it in our house. So you're not going to see a wall full of Stachybotrys out in nature. So that's the difference. It's the quantity, and it's not regulated from the ecosystem. It doesn't have sun and wind and bacteria to manage it. So it's growing out of proportion to what is natural. And that's what a lot of people aren't really factoring in.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah. So we've talked about some EMFs and our plastic cookware and our fragrances and parabens and our furniture. As we're wrapping up here, is there anything that maybe we missed that people should be aware of to think about?
Yeah, one thing that a lot of us aren't thinking about is our clothing, which I think is really important. Actually, everything I have on right now is cotton, all like 100%, 95% cotton, 5% spandex, whatever. But these synthetic clothing, I would love it if people would start making choices towards cotton or linen or silk, because they're microplastics and we're wearing them and we are getting chemicals from them when we put them on our skin. And then when we wash them, they break down into microplastics and put more microplastics into the environment, into our waterways. So that's one area that has a lot of opportunity for improvement. And I'm not telling people to go get rid of everything they own right now, but the next time you need a new shirt, maybe you choose a cotton option versus polyester or rayon or whatever it is. So yeah, a lot of opportunity that we could do better there.
And I think the most important thing, if nothing else, at least let your undergarments be 100%.
Oh,
100%. Yes. Like my kids, there's a lot of brands out there. My girls, they're teenagers. They want cute underwear. They don't want granny panties. There are a lot of companies where you can buy one. I even got some on Amazon. Just look for 100% organic cotton underwear. If you're going to spend money, you can't replace the whole wardrobe. Just please.
Exactly.
Buy the underwear and bras that are organic and cotton.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. That's another industry that's exploded randomly. Like, why are we but a lot of options for undergarments. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. I'm glad you brought that up, because when I met a new gynecologist and I was like, I want to find more companies. Do you know some more companies? She gave me a bunch. I think one is, is it My Heart Place something? I don't know. I'll find it. We can add it to the notes. But again, you just type in to your Google search, right? Yeah. Organic cotton. My husband replaced all of his.
Good.
All of cotton. And, it does. It makes, I think it's these little things that can start to move the needle, especially if you're somebody who's had a lot of health issues, right? And you've done the nutrition thing and the supplement thing. You got to start looking at the bigger picture here. We talked about emotions too, but now again, let's look at the environment and what's thing. So maybe there's 12 months in a year. So maybe your goal can be, all right, this month I'm going to change out all the plastic containers and make everything glass. I'm going to throw away all my plastic water bottles. Please.
Oh my gosh.
Drink out of plastic water.
Yes.
Much water, which is not acidic or fatty, but still over time, like it's just not, anytime it's exposed to heat, it's going to, we're going to start breaking down. Like you said, the impact on the environment is just, we need to stop that. Think about our future generations and not making them have to clean so much of this stuff. Use reusable bags. Like when you go to the grocery store, please get one.
Yes.
It's great. And I have ones I give to all my health coaching clients. Fold up into a tiny little ball. And
good. Yeah.
Granted, you're going to need more than one, but at least you always have, if you're running in to get something real quick, you always have that right there. And then when you're doing grocery shop, you take your ones. And I really wish, the biggest thing for me is I really hate at the supermarket and everything is still, they're giving you receipts. So that's another thing. There's a lot of BPA in receipts.
That's right.
Choose not to take the receipt if you can, right? Take a picture of it if you like at a restaurant. You need the receipt, just take a picture instead. Do not.
Great idea. Great idea.
I wish there was an option at the supermarket. Like, I don't want a receipt. It's like a 3-foot long receipt that I just put in the trash. And I'm like, it makes me cringe every time. I'm like, I just don't want the receipt. And I'm making more. And the trash can is full of receipts. And I'm like, what a waste. Right? Or even, I love going in the supermarkets now where they have at Stop and Shop where we are, they have the little gun and you can go around and bag stuff as you go. I swear it saves about 30 minutes when you shop.
That's cool.
But even with produce, you can weigh your produce and you can get a little sticker. Me too. And I'm like, why can't I scan that? Like, I don't need the sticker. Can we stop
Right.
all that stuff? Because that's plastics too. But anyway, there are these just little things that we can do to try to make an impact on our life and the greater global society as a whole. And the more that we are aware of this, like I said, like you said, like all these industries are exploding now because people are demanding it. And so that is our
That's
power.
good.
You know, a lot of us think, what can I do? I'm just a little Joe Schmo in Western Massachusetts. But again, it's these little things that do make an impact.
Yep,
And
they sure
so
do.
anybody can do anything if you put your mind to it. So
Yeah.
Kat, thank you so much for taking your time today to come and teach us all. I learned some good things today. I love it when I always learn something new. So I'm going to go. I've been growing rosemary on my porch. I think I'm going to go grab it.
Perfect.
Put it on my lunch for my sandwich for lunch.
Excellent. Good.
Thanks, everybody. I hope you really enjoyed this whole detox series. As always, you can always reach out and contact Cathy if somebody is looking for more information or maybe learning more about what a building biologist does. And maybe they're concerned with mold. Like you said, there aren't that many building biologists out there. And I know I've searched for some, and living in Western Mass in the middle of nowhere, it's really hard to find there. What is a good resource?
Yep. So buildingbiologyinstitute.org is a great place to go. You can find many building biologists. There's not one in every city. Many of us travel. I travel pretty extensively for inspections. If you can't find someone locally, you might be able to reach out to one that can travel to you. But the Building Biology Institute has a lot of free resources that are definitely worth checking out. You can look at my website, which is Whole Home and Body Health, my Instagram page, which is Whole Home and Body Health. And I've got most of my reels. I try to provide tips for people rather than, oh my God, mold is going to kill you or EMF is going to kill you. Do this instead of this, or maintenance tips for your house, that kind of stuff. Like you said, prevention is key. So yeah, those are good resources. Another one, Change the Air Foundation. I'm a strong advocate for. They're a great resource for air quality and mold. So yeah, those are all good places to start.
Great. It's a wonderful place to get started. I know your site has some really awesome information. So again, thank you so much. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks.
Huge thanks to you, our amazing listeners, for helping us climb into the top 5% of podcasts in the oral health space. With all the love and support, we've been getting many requests for one-on-one consultations. So we made it happen. Are you ready to take your oral health to the next level? Click the link in the show notes to book your personalized consultation, and let's kickstart your journey to a healthier, brighter smile starting today. We'll see you then.